I survived 101 days in Project Zomboid as a stripper with 0 skills, these traits, and no prospects of surviving. Along the way we endure hunger, loot set to rare, with of course insane zombie populations to max out after 21 days. There will be twists and turns that not even I could expect. Eventually I want this character, Hannah, to make it all the way back to the strip club in Louisville to burn it to the ground. But first, we have to get through the initial outbreak and do anything to survive. This is how I survived for 101 days in Project Zomboid as a stripper from 0 to hero. Spawning in Maldro with nothing on except my underwear and a broken left hand. I started eating everything I could when we found a can opener and a grilling pan that could be used as a weapon. While I got dressed in the clothes I could find in the cupboard, I found a baseball bat. When I went outside, I quickly realized I couldn't use the bat because of my broken hand, so the pan would have to do for now. While I subdued some of the neighbors, I came across a policeman who had a shotgun on his back, so naturally I took it. Given the amount of noise that my frying pan must have been making on all these zombies' heads, I think they all just came to me for a midday snack. I made a swift escape through the bathroom window of a disgruntled neighbor, and then I did the sick parkour move. Parkour! The next house was sadly empty save a few items in the freezer, but there was sheets and I could use sheets down the road, no doubt. I checked the armored vehicle outside, but it had no gas, but it had a key. However, we got smokes from it, something my girl Hannah needed desperately every day. Crossing the street, I noticed Dr. Crawford coming to try and eat me. However, I was ambushed by a native with something awesome in her shoulder. It was a hand axe. I took the hand axe off the native and I realized that the best place to find fresh bandages was probably the doctor's offices, but there was already a patient inside. After looting some medical supplies, I found my first bunch of clothes with actual protection from hungry friends outside. I found a bag of Disney dust in Dr. Crawford's desk and decided we might have some useful stuff upstairs. Then, I heard a kerfuffle downstairs, and sure enough, it was Charlie. Charlie worked as a clerk in a sports store on Main Road, but he had a little bit of a drinking problem, so him and I never really crossed paths much. Nonetheless, I asked him if he wanted to join me, and he said yes, my first friend in the apocalypse. Charlie and I decided we needed a place to wait out the first few days of this, whatever this was, or at least figure out a plan of escape from the country. We needed a base of operations. But first, a cigarette. We thought it was a good idea to check out the local grocery store for some extra food, because we have no idea where or how much there is out there. After clearing out the store and having a soda water, I wanted to check out the Bucky that was parked in front, but sadly, it was locked. On that note, I realized Charlie was in sports clothes and that simply wouldn't do, so we went back to the office and we got him kitted. Thank you, Dr. Crawford. We decided it was going to be night soon, so we went to the last house on the block to loot and we dug in for the night. I managed to clear the house out and catch the evening news to try and figure out what's happening out in the world. Seems like everywhere might be a little screwed up. I boiled some bandages and rags while Charlie barricaded the house, and we had some candy and cherries before we both called it a night. We woke up really early on day 2, and whilst exploring we came across Yvonne. She was always a little bitchy as far as neighbors go, but I thought I'd extend an invitation to her anyways. She declined immediately. We looted a few more houses, and I found this sick hat for Charlie. At the end of the street, we came across a prepper's house, so I had a smoke while I waited for the zombies to bust down the door, but I got a little impatient, and then it happened. After looting the prepper's house, I had a machete to slice zombies with. Then, I met Lisa. She was my friend on Facebook. I asked if she was keen to group up, and she happily said yes. We got her kitted out at the doctor's office, and we made our way to our old home. The door was broken, but the sun was going down, and we needed a safe place to rest. Before that, we spent the rest of the night fighting a few zombies and looting her neighbors for supplies. Finally, at 2 a.m., I set an alarm and hit the sack for the night. Day 3, the gang and I were on the move. We were killing zombies, checking cars, and then we found a greenhouse that we were going to temporarily call home. I baited the zombies out to avoid having a mess inside and cleared upstairs. I wanted to know what was inside the tool shed, but I couldn't get in at the moment, so I'll do it now. I set the house to be our base, and I went on a walkabout to go get more fridges and loot some homes. I cleared a little forest of zombies until I found this cute little orange house with an orange car parked out in front. I'll need this place for later. Going across the road, I found a BMW, and listen, I know it's trashy, but I'm desperate, okay? I'm desperate for wheels. I looted the food market store and took a fridge when I met Michelle. Michelle was in school with me. She was a top achiever. Right before I could ask Michelle to join me, I had to defend her from some zombies. She still said no, and I respected her decision to stay independent. Going down the road towards a motel Yvonne told me about it a few days before, I wasn't expecting a tiny swarm of zombies to ambush me. I got my first level in Long Blade, bro. Day 3 for a combat skill is wild. Especially with the broken hand. Absolutely wild. After searching some of those sticky rooms at the motel, I went back up and unfortunately had to defend Michelle again from some stragglers. After all was done, I went to go hunker down for the night in the little orange house. The morning of day 4, I woke up eating ice cream, and then I was on the track back home when I found Christina and Marcus. Marcus and I had a "what's your name" conversation over a fence, and he landed up joining us because he's a doctor. Making our way back home, I checked out a blue sedan and found a cassette of Tool and can't wait to listen to it. Once I got home, I threw my loot into bags on the floor while I set up our new fridges, shelves, and a deep freeze. I also got my first level in carpentry from the TV show Life in the Living. While there was still daylight left, I wanted to loot a house, even though I was pretty done for the day. But I met a total stranger, Gail. She was boarding up the house when I heard a noise upstairs. I checked it out, but a naked man I was not expecting, and I thought I got bitten. I ran away trying to make Gail fight for me, but I got too scared, so I ran away. I went home, washed off the blood, the grime from the past couple days, and sure enough, it was just a hole in my pants from the naked guy. So I patched it, and finally went to bed exhausted and a little shaken that night. Day 5, Lisa and I wanted to make the neighborhood a little safer, and Lisa was hoping that we could find her a pack of smokes somewhere. We killed a few Zeds, cleared a few houses, found a car with a key but no gas. The day progressed pretty steadily, just looting houses, but it was getting late and it was time to dig into one of the houses we cleared. I passed the time by reading some magazines I found earlier and cooking some meat for Lisa and I to share, right before I finally went to bed. Day 6, Lisa and I were a bomb team. We found a survivor called Marie looking for a group. and gathered we wanted to rather be left alone. The three of us came across this house with a bunch of bodies, and I managed to catch the morning news on the TV. Later that day, I had my first close encounter with a zombie climbing out of a car. But luckily, it was just a scratch. We were all tired at that point, but I wanted to check out just one more house, and I thought there can't be more than 1 or 2 zombies. But then more came, and more, until we were completely overwhelmed. Marie, our newest friend, gave her life distracting the zombies. I could still hear her screams to this day. Lisa and I ran down the street to catch our breath, but we only had a moment to do so. Then I saw Marie in the crowd. She was chasing Lisa, and it looked like for a minute that Marie was going to bite Lisa. I ran over, but I couldn't do it. Lisa had to do it. We grabbed Marie's body to bury back at base, and Lisa asked me if that ever happened to her, that I would make it quick. Lisa was so angry after losing our new friend, she killed every zombie we saw on the way back. I thought I saw a survivor, but when I turned around, Lisa, she was gone. I had to do a line of snow to have the energy to just fight a little longer today. Then it was just Lisa and I. I took my knife, and I made it quick. I had to sit down for a moment before I dug my friends' graves and buried them. I chopped down a tree, built their crosses. I shared a smoke with my friend one last time. I sat there for the rest of the night, mourning the friends I had lost. Day 7, I ran back to base camp and told Marcus and Charlie about what happened. Their blood was boiling for a fight, so we geared up and we were going to start our trek to the warehouse we discussed as taking over for our main base on the main road. Along the way, we met Judith, a sergeant from the army who wanted to help us on our mission. Moments later, we met Marion. She was just happy to see alive people, so she tagged along. We fought our way through the trailer park until my back broke. However, I had several spare in my backpack. We found a police car with gas, so we took what we could, and we were on our way again. Day 7 ended with us in a field in the middle of the night. Day 8. My biggest mistake was this night, seemingly in a random field at midnight. I thought my crew could handle anything. First, I saw Charlie go down. Then, Marion disappeared. Then Judas and Marcus ran out of sight. All I could do was fight. Until I couldn't anymore and I had to run away. Until, out the blue, Marcus found me. I was so grateful he was alive. We had no time to rest though, as the undead were hot on his tracks. We slowly fought our way back to the school bus, but our troubles had only just begun. We killed hundreds, what felt like thousands of zombies, but they just kept coming. I even got my first level in fitness from fighting. I thought we could find the others, but they were suspiciously grouping up in the top. And I got my first level in strength. Marcus and I fought until dawn. By 8 AM we needed some breakfast, so we cleared a trailer and had some fruit for brekkie. Back to the slaughter, we fought the entire day. At 3 PM, I had no choice but to try and find a place for shelter for Marcus and I. We had to rest. We secured it. I told Marcus to barricade the windows to keep his mind off the last night. After a quick shower, I checked Marcus's bandages and we decided to carry on for the others. We fought so long over so many corpses, I was feeling nauseous. After I put my gas mask on, we went in deep. I called out to the zombies. And then, this happened.
Marcus?
I couldn't save him. My friend, he was just gone. I put him down, but I had no time left to mourn this day.
I'll kill every last one of them.
Day 9, I was burying another friend in a field that had no strategic value to me. I placed his mask on his grave and said my goodbyes. I was fuming for a fight. I wanted revenge. I was angry. I was bashing. I sliced. I slammed. Finally, I gave up.
I have to go back. This was for nothing.
Then I saw the blood of one of my friends.
Come on, they've got to be here.
If I could at least find their bodies, I could give them the burial they deserve.
Hello, Charlie.
After a day of not finding them, I took my frustration out on the zombies, continuing the mission.
I get a farming skill.
At 2:50 AM, I couldn't anymore. The drugs were wearing off, I was low on weapons. I even considered using an umbrella I found, but I had to sleep. After losing all my friends for what? I just had to take a moment. We were so close to the warehouse though, I needed to finish the mission for those who gave their lives for me. Waking up on the morning of day 10 after a short nap, I began breaking down the waves of zombies that stood between me and the warehouse. I screamed for them to try and collect them, and I slaughtered more than I was expecting, to be honest. I found an old survivor's house that was barricaded.
Oh, weapons. Actual weapons.
I actually want to cry. Like, I legitimately want to cry. Like, I just want to get to this factory, and I feel like we will be set. I could see the warehouse finally. With actual weapons again, I made short work of the zombies surrounding the building and its current tenants. Then I met Denise. Girl, you did not just bring that here. This is not my problem. She's not my friend. Please, 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 please. I'm begging you, game. I dropped off the loot I'd acquired on the journey here, and I could finally look at my stats. 1,669 zombies to get here. And I have gained so many levels in strength, fitness, farming, and all of these combat skills. That is wild. Without reading a single one of those books. I sat on the roof that night alone in the rain, thinking of my friends I lost along the way. Day 11. Now that I made it to the warehouse, I wanted to leave. I walked back home admiring my handiwork, absolutely destroying thousands of zombies. Was hutful, so I broke into the bucky from the food grocer, and surprisingly it had gas and a key. Unbelievable, man. Went to the temp house, got all my shit, and pack ratted home. Early on day 12, after a little nap, I wanted to clear the area around my base. I went up to the military checkpoint north of Maldro, and where we started to clear and loot. I made my way back to base and decided to clear a little south of the base too, just to be safe. I heard gunshots by the mechanic's workshop. Enter Jennifer. Jennifer drew every zombie in a 70-tile radius to us in that parking lot. For a time, we worked well together. Her shooting and my frontlinerness was proving an effective method. Then we got overrun because 70 tiles of zombies is a lot. I had a really close call with a zombie, met Angus, and tried to look for Jennifer to get her to stop shooting that gun. We realized she was in the thick backyard trees and was too risky to get her. I tried to loot a house on the way back to base and... oh shit. I ran back to base to get the bucky as quickly as possible to get Angus out of there. Yep, not like I spent a long time clearing out the fucking neighborhood. But hey, let's just throw in a house alarm just to ruin all that hard work. I ran into Grant on the road. I met Grant several days earlier. He was creating hordes when I lost all my friends. I figured we could use him and he was in a tight spot, so he joined us and we got the hell out of there. Next, we went to see Michelle. I needed her help if I was gonna hold that warehouse, so I asked her nicely to join.
Sure, this is the one. Hey, Gavin. No, Gavin, we came here for you. Gavin. Come here. Stop fucking walking away from me. You are part of the group.
With the bucky full of neighbors and friends, we headed home around midnight. At 12:30 a.m. on day 13, we arrived back at the warehouse. We heard gunshots, probably from Jennifer, so I wanted to check it out.
Oh my Jesus. Fall back, fall back, fall back, fall back.
Absolute chaos ensued. Everyone started panic fighting zombies. We didn't have the correct gear for this kind of battle. First I saw Grant get overwhelmed, then a group where I last saw Angus. I got in the bucket to try get the survivors out, but they were panicking and they couldn't think straight. Finally I saw Gavin hop in the back, so we searched for anyone else. We tried to draw the zombies off Michelle, but she ran into the forest. I drove up the road to the military checkpoint, assigned a guard area, and instructed Gavin to stay there until I dealt with the problem. Then I went back for Michelle. I got her to safety, and did the same thing with her. I started to clear off the remaining zombies. The car sent them off in different directions, but there were a few stragglers to deal with. The fog began to set in and made clearing really difficult. Then it was over.
Hey, fuck.
There were so many corpses we had to pile up, including our neighbors. Then, long into the night, I got started on inventory management so that we can sort this warehouse out. Day 14, I continued being a loot goblin at base, but I needed to loot those houses by the temp base. Outside the grocer, I met Ronald. He was a homeless dude back in the day before it all went down. Then we saw Gail again, but she was being attacked by a raider. We hopped out and ran that raider off. Checking on Gail, I asked if she would join us. She did. Moving on, we ran into Helen. Helen was a water freak back in the day. The girl literally had a world record for the most water drank in a day. We finally got into the tool shed and we went to bed for the first time in a few days. Day 15 was a short day. We looted some houses, almost rolled the car, set up a farm and told the guys where I needed trees felled. And I was onto inventory again. Day 16, I began busting down the HVAC system in the building, but had to deal with some zombie groups after a helicopter began shooting and dropping flyers over our base, inverted commas, helping. Day 17, I started clearing out those boxes in the warehouse and disassembling the crates once I was done with them. Day 18, I continued organizing the crates on the sides of the warehouse. Day 19, I finished up the last of the crates and began installing the metal cabinets I wanted in the base. I've drawn up a plan of how I want the base to both look and function. I also began putting down some furniture items I had acquired so far. Day 20 started early when I heard a plane overhead. I immediately filled my water bottles and made sure I had enough weapons. Sure enough, it was a supply drop. The issue with supply drops is it brings the zombies from a huge radius to the base. So, I had a fight in my hands. After a morning of fighting to keep the herd safe right next to our base, I met Rotland. Rotland was part of a raider group, but couldn't bring herself to kill any innocent people, so she abandoned them and was on her own ever since. I insisted she join us, and we had an accord. I told my group of a patch of trees that I was blocking our vision, and I put them to work cutting them down. I opened the supplies from the drop, and we got some basic MREs, first aid kits, and some army excess weapons, like a bow. But I suck at shooting bows, apparently. Day 21, I ate some canned veggie soup for brekkie when I grabbed Ronald and we went out so I could level up my carpentry until I had leveled up my level 4. We even went farming. Bonding is a good thing to keep us all tight. Next issue, I didn't have Carpentry Volume 3. So we searched the neighborhood for the book. Finally at midnight, we found a copy as the day came to a close. Day 22, we made our way back home, had a nap, and immediately put on some Limb Biscuit while I read the carpentry book.
As empty as my conscience seems to be.
Then, I was straight back to leveling the carpentry skill later that day. Day 23 was Inventory Management Day. Every time I look around. Day 24, more inventory management followed by alcohol. Day 25, inventory management, but drum and bass. Day 26, inventory management, but I stepped outside. Kidding. I did organize the base, but then later that day I wanted to go check out the storage rooms that were right next door. It was getting pretty late, but I thought I could squeeze in a quick little look around. Day 27, I cleared out some zombies by the storage rooms, got some cool loot, including a generator, and disassembled the furniture that I could. After breaking into the last door when I got a nasty surprise from a zombie, I went to check out the mechanic's workshop right next door. I noticed when I was with Jennifer that there was a car parked over there and I wanted to check it out to see if I could use it to level up my mechanics one day. Finally, I took our spoils back to base and opted for an early night in bed. I woke up early and realized I was so close to completing the next level in carpentry, so my plans changed immediately and I hopped the fence to get to work. I also decided it was a good idea to go through what books I could read to boost my skills someday soon. I cleaned up our lawn of bushes and trees before going to sleep that night. Day 29, I moved my generators to the roof and got started working on my future bedroom. I broke the wall out for my new 3 meter by 3 meter window and began breaking out the ground floor walls of where I wanted to put new windows. Visibility is key to survival. I had 15 pieces of bubblegum right before going to sleep that night. Day 30 I needed fresh air, so I took Michelle and Ronald on a little outing. We started hauling a car out the way, followed by disassembling more furniture. Day 31 we had a scare from a boxer early in the morning, but we finally got the ambulance wreck off the road. Finally. You have no idea how long I wanted to do that.
My fuck, Marlies.
Day 32 we arrived home like teenagers at 1 AM and went to bed at 3 AM only to be woken up 30 minutes later by an alarm. Still tired, I started placing furniture and then finally it was shop fitting day on site. I was so proud the construction of our base was that much closer to being done. Then I found out you can't place a wall with stairs in front of it. And I needed 20 metal sheets to replace that staircase, because let's be real, I like the industrial look that's happening here. So I went to go disassemble some wrecks by the checkpoint that night. Day 33, I drove home at 2 AM with a new friend on the back, Matthew. When I saw my windows were busted up, I learned a new lesson today that you have to exclude built windows from erosion or else one of my mods decides that what you spent hours on is just too pretty for the apocalypse when you leave the area.
So why can't I build that wall?
So I got started replacing all my hard work, or at least what I could. Then I discovered you can't build a wall directly behind stairs, so my inner architect began screaming in pain. Channeling my inner contractor, I had built my wall of my bedroom in the wrong place, so before I was like, oh, it's just fine. I destroyed it, and I redid it too. Then readjusted my furniture and cried into my keyboard IRL till it was midnight in game.
We could have 2 TVs. Like so.
Day 34, I moved my sleeping bag into our new room and placed my new rug and wardrobe in their correct spots. I finally cleared out the duffel bags of loot and that was just sitting in the middle of the base for so long. I can't tell you how big that was. That was a major W for me. Day 35 to 43 I can summarize with 2 words. Reading marathon. Day 44 was my last day of reading, but I heard a gunshot early in the day. With the last page turned for now, I went for a midday nap. I gathered all my cans, cigarette butts, and books and organized them. While I was reading one day, there must have been a supply drop because I found a crate by our base. And suspiciously no zombies. I decided we had to bury our friends, so I started with Helen, then Grant, and finally Angus. I got distracted by trying on clothes and then I built their crosses and went to bed. Day 45, I wanted an easier path to McCoy logging, so I put the guys to work chopping trees while I worked on my mechanic skills on a wreck close by. Day 46, I tracked to the factory when I ran into Rice. He told me it was pretty much picked clean up there, but I persisted. While killing zombies, I got a level in strength, followed by long blunt. I found a couple trucks with no gas and a blue trailer that was unlocked, luckily. Rice wasn't lying when he said it was slim pickings up there. It was dry in terms of loot. So I looted what I could. I made my way back through the trees when I spotted a raider. I immediately equipped my shotgun and snuck up on him. He tried to surrender, but I did not care. I equipped an axe I found at the factory and got chopping since my group was taking their sweet time with those trees. Day 47 started with a light rain while we chopped the trees until the sun came up. Then I went to go grab our gravel supplies so I could start laying out the edges of the cleared forest when a helicopter came to say hello to us. I cleared grass and bushes, filled up my water bottle at the factory office, filled up the truck with gasoline, I wanted to check out the rest of the factory grounds, but I had to walk it because it was so overgrown. I checked the storage containers I could, but there was nothing really useful for us. I fought some zombies on the far side while the weather continued to get worse around me. Finally, I made my way back in basically what was a tropical storm. Hooked up the blue trailer and looking like Optimus Prime, I reversed that bitch into the factory so I could loot and drop. We looted and scooted for the rest of the day. Day 48, I had hoped the boxes in the middle of the pile were untouched, but their loot was also scarce. Day 49, apart from my sick reversing skills, we heard a helicopter with a supply drop. I ran for the forest where it dropped, which was a very dangerous place. I found the supplies, but a zombie cop got... That was way too close. When I went back to finish looting, I heard shooting. I found a farmer with his puppy's rifle, and he was giving him hell, brother. So I left him to do his thing.
All in all, we got 4 metal sheets. Just the 4.
I drove home with our new truck and haul while a news helicopter circled above. Maybe someone told them about a farmer shooting at people at a factory. Day 50, I just organized our loot from the factory. Day 51, I almost crashed into a building, but I wanted a shipping container I spotted the other day. I wanted to loot the last warehouse with it, but instead,
I wanna go murder some zombies, man.
so I vibed home. I had to cut down some trees where I wanted the shipping container to go, and, well, the bucky wasn't meant to pull the container off-road. I did try to push it. The nail that protrudes from the wall gets hammered. Look at that. Perfectly in place. Day 52, I was managing the inventory yet again, but this time I wanted to show you guys my stats at the end of the day so you guys could gauge where I was just after day 50. Day 53, I woke up around 7 AM and began barring my windows. I wanted the next level of metalworking because metal fences need metalworking of level 5 in order to build. Day 54, I started melting down anything remotely metal. I even started working on wrecked cars down by the trailer homes. Day 55, I figured I might as well hit up the trailers for furniture to disassemble while I was there. I stopped by Charlie and Marcus's graves and cleaned up the grass around it. I looted a little convenience store and got a big ass fridge. When I was walking home, a helicopter started shooting and I found a supply drop that was, well, it wasn't full, but it had some supplies left. I realized my kitchen was a mess, but that was a task for another day. Day 56, I had half an MRE for Brekkie and wanted to carry on building up the base. After working on the main floor, I started working on the kitchen. I reorganized basically everything in that room today. Day 57, I had to keep the fresh food fresh and dry food, well, dry. I heard a supply drop, so I ran into action. Unfortunately, I had to fight in the forest to get it. Opening up the supplies, I got a bunch of MREs and water supplies from the drop. Carrying on with the kitchen that night, I had a little snack before the day ended. Day 58, I was tracking through the neighborhood and realized I forgot my welding supplies. I grabbed Gale and decided to rather take the bucky instead. Gale and I were melting stuff down and looting preserved food where we hadn't been before. I found another generator, which was a major W today. While heading back to the car, I saw a raider, so I sprang into action. But she got away this time. Clearing a wreck from the road that was in the way, the day was getting late when we found a house filled with zombies. I grabbed the double bed finally that didn't break and was so excited to install it. Day 59, I dropped off the food and installed my new bed immediately. I wanted the group to be on high alert. Ever since that raider got away, I fear she may come back looking for revenge one day, but with greater numbers. Day 60. Today I worked on my tailoring the whole day. Day 61. Today I wanted to start using guns. With the prospect of raiders coming, I had to be prepared for the inevitable, so I started loading some magazines to start practicing soon. I wanted a couch for my bedroom badly, so I went to house. I even tried to combine 2 different broken couches. It didn't work though. Day 62, we installed our new single-seater couch and hit the hay after that. Waking up early, I started cleaning up that temporary farm I set up when we first got here. I built this sick table and a chair for me in my room, and I was excited to put my boombox on it so I could listen to music. I started loading my shotgun I got on day 1, and I started loading up some LMG box magazines. Day 63, it took a long time to load the box magazines, but finally I could load my machine gun. I opted for a midday nap, but it was awoken by a military helicopter shooting at something north of the base. I went out to go test my machine gun, but I took it very slow to start with. I loaded more standard magazines and returned to the lodging house to get furniture and plants for myself. Day 64, I started placing the plants and furniture when I got back, and I decided I wanted to play with some zombies in the zombie survival game. So I drove out and started using my suppressed rifle. I was clearly not high enough in the level of aiming though, so out came the baseball bat. I cleared a diner and looted its supplies. After returning home, I disassembled all the watches I had collected throughout the playthrough, which was weirdly satisfying. I loaded a minigun can by unloading some of the box magazines from earlier and wanted to test out the minigun I had found at the checkpoint all that time ago. I had never used a minigun before, and it was awesome. My skill issue with shooting though turned out to be a problem, so I burned through 520 5.56 rounds by killing maybe 30 zombies in total. I drove home and immediately I wanted more, so I unboxed some ammo to be loaded into the can again. I had also stole a desk from the diner. It was for my bedroom. Day 65, I reloaded my new toys ammo can and started loading up on weapons to push towards the center of Maldro. I racked my minigun and started admiring how cool it was. I felt like the Terminator holding it. I wanted to check my kills before I went out tomorrow, and my zombie count was 3,025 kills so far. I placed some pillows and I was off to bed. Day 66, I woke up early and grabbed my revolver. I felt like Rick Grimes holding this thing. I wanted to change clothes because autumn was here and it was September. I also finally upgraded my backpack to have more hotbar slots. Finally. I went out to start mincing zombies with my shotgun and felt awesome doing so. I cleared the blue KFC like a badass and grabbed what loot I could. I looted some stores and went clothes shopping on my way back. I hit a couple houses too and finally returned home a little hungry that night. Day 67, I noticed a bunch of my meat was starting to go stale, so I started mass cooking it. You ever cook like a Sunday lunch for a big family? That's what today felt like, because I slaved over that stove the whole day. It was not easy cooking that much meat at once, but it did take the entire day. I froze all the meats and finally went to bed a tired stripper chef. Day 68, I started to read the next cooking book. Day 69, nice. I read a bunch of books apparently. Day 70, get ready people, today's the day. I plotted my route and wanted gasoline by the 8th.
Let's have some fun.
The problem was the thousands of zombies that stood in between me and my gas. So I started collecting them.
Shit. Running.
When I started shooting, I had about 120 shells on me that day. I ran out so fast, and then I had to break out the melee weapons. I bit off way more than I could chew, and I knew it.
It's now the tunnel of death.
I had an injured foot on top of it to add to the chaos.
Shit.
The horde was thinned, so I went into the bank to rest for a little bit.
What a trick, my man. Make sure. Half a slice.
I wanted to give my foot proper medical care, so I took off my shoes even. While checking the floor for office supplies...
Shit.
Yeah, I walked over broken glass.
That is not good.
But I leveled up my first aid. Positive thinking. Day 71, we started off with a sneak attack from a zombie. I still didn't have shoes on, so I pinned it down and got my knife out. Going downstairs, I wanted these planter boxes, which was one of the reasons for this trip. I checked out a Bucky and sure enough, it had a key but no gas. I did a line of powder and started clearing out the rest of the zombies from the south side of the petrol station. It took time, but the car would bring a lot more. After I filled up my gas cans, I went to grab the silver Bucky from the intersection. I figured I could hit two birds with one stone by towing the black Bucky to the petrol station. I got as close as I could, and I started to clear out the zombies that the car brought. Filling the tanks up, I got ambushed by a few zombies, which, while annoying, I could handle easy enough. I took the Buckies home and parked them nicely in the base. That night I went to go disassemble some furniture by the lodging house and looted a bunch of booze. Day 72, we tracked home with our booze intact, grilled up some meat, and placed our new bar stools in the kitchen. I removed the industrial dishwasher and installed a deep fryer so I could deep fry stuff one day. I resupplied what I needed and took the red truck to go fill her up. Later that day, I spotted a motorbike I wanted, but I couldn't hotwire it just yet. Later that night, I started making stews and soups from all the meat we had cooked the other night. A good meal is hard to find in the apocalypse, and unfortunately, I was overweight. It was time to starve. I rushed downstairs because I had realized I had almost destroyed everything I worked for. I did my first ever sit-ups tonight because right now my main method of fitness was head-bashing zombies apparently. Day 73. Today I was tired of zombies strolling up to my windows, so I started disassembling the metal fence by the storage rooms next door. I had a seriously close encounter with a zombie, and was scared my playthrough was over. Lucky once again, it was just a laceration. I finished breaking down the fence and collected the metal bars and pipes once I was done. Because it was raining, some crops could be tended to. Day 74, at midnight I heated up some stew in my microwave to justify having it in my kitchen. I checked my bandages before having some pain medication and going to sleep. I woke up nice and early having some stew when I stocked up on metal pipes. I started working on the metal fence for the perimeter around the base today. Each fence gave me a little metal working experience, so once I was out of the XP boost, I began reading the next book. Day 75, I woke up 2 hours later and began doing sit-ups again. I read the rest of the metal working manual and got working again. That night, I started with the fences of the perimeter fence. I continued working on the base defense, but I switched between the fence and the walkway the whole day until I ran out of metal pipes. Right before I was done. Murphy's Law. Day 76, I continued installing railings today because I found my people were falling off constantly, and I was worried it would be one of their last falls soon. I had these raised defenses over our gates because I didn't like the way my cars were clipping through them if they were on the first floor. Day 77, I continued installing railings on the walkways on top of the fences in pretty hectic fog. I'd worked in the kitchen installing these nice white tiles and a set of blue and white checkered tiles in the bathroom. That night, on the roof, I installed a series of skylights on the roof, so that I could have some natural light during the day, hopefully. Day 78, I finished installing the skylights on the roof and worked deep into the morning installing safety rails again. I started fixing up the gardens by removing the old plants that hadn't taken to the soil. I started to lay down pallets and I moved the fridge from the roof outside along with the metal shelves. Afterwards, I laid a sand pathway around where the farms would be and got cleaning up the grass on the paths. I cleared off any tree logs and sticks around, and finally the day was done. Day 79, today I started digging up the grass where I wanted the farm to be. However, it was late enough and I desperately wanted to have a little lie down. When I woke up that morning, I went to fight for a supply drop in the woods, but suspiciously there were no zombies. I finished digging up the farmland and collected all the stuff that was laying around. I built composters and rain collectors specifically for the farm, and finally, I got to tilling the land. I roasted some cockroaches and started to move the garden supplies down to the farm. Day 80. I didn't want to waste space on the shelves with heavy items, so I would just put them down where I was going to fertilize and... I went fishing for the first time ever and clearly didn't know how a trap worked. I caught my first fish, a small trout, today. Pretty cool achievement. I fished for the rest of the day, catching more shoes than fish, but it ended up being kind of fun. I had gotten more sand to complete the farm's land paths and cut the lawn that evening. Day 81, I woke up at a decent time for once and had some soup for brekkie. I built these turrets and placed them around the base to keep the zombies at bay. Notice the zombies against my fence. These turrets are about to prove their value. Yes, they bring zombies, but they shoot zombies too. I went to do a patrol around the area close to my base with my minigun so I could get some practice in. In a backyard, I was ambushed by a raider, but unlucky for the raider, I had a minigun. I grabbed a washing machine and tumble dryer before heading home, and I placed my baby Boom Boom down on a counter that night so she could rest. Day 82, I wanted to set up my new washing machine and tumble dryer that night. I went to sleep because in the morning we were clearing zombies. I drove out a few blocks from the base. I had a moment of pain when a zombie lacerated my hand. I finally got my green double couch, but there was an orange couch right under it. That was weird, I wanted to include that. I cleared house to house until I found a house filled with zombies. I love my shotgun. I stopped by Charlie and Marcus on my way, just to remember them. If only there was a way they could see what we have built up by the warehouse. I set up my green double couch finally in my bedroom that night. Day 83. Today I set up these two scarecrows and dressed them in military clothing so that we could see the pigeon poop when it arrives. It was an unfortunate heat wave, so I dressed for the weather and went out to break into the storage containers up by the military checkpoint. I grabbed everything I missed before, all that was left behind, and headed home to load up my minigun's ammo canisters. Day 84. I woke up and installed a bull bar that I had found on the red truck. I made some stews for the journey for the next few days. I loaded up my weapons, and that night, I read some novels just for the sake of having an evening off, just for one night. Day 85. I woke up nice and early to go to explore a military logistics facility nearby. Taking the truck, I parked down the road as I had no idea the condition of the road nor how infested the road would be. I pulled over to the side of the road about 1 kilometer away from the target and began clearing the zombies that were attracted to the truck. Finally, tracking the distance, I found the driveway. I cleared the front gate first of any undead. I was expecting quite a welcome party, but I wasn't expecting so many. My guess is this place was some sort of military outpost during the start. I knew that door wouldn't hold, but I wanted to clear the officers behind me first. Sure enough, when I returned to the gantry, the undead had broken out. Rookie mistake, I ran out of ammo just before the stairs, luckily. I cleared building to building, making sure all the rooms were clear before moving on. After taking out the last zombies in the cafeteria, I broke into the gun locker for supplies, but they were scarce. I went for the cars, hoping to maybe find something useful there. The best loot, however, was on the zombies themselves. I wanted armor and uniforms so I could clearly distinguish ourselves from any hostiles, mainly against what the group were now calling the others. Day 86, by midnight I was going through the last of the cafeteria and barracks. I found a lot of drugs, I won't lie. On my track back there were only a few problems, but when I got to the truck I threw the entire loot bag in the trailer and had to deal with the stragglers from yesterday. Now that I knew the road was clear, I wanted to investigate a gas station up ahead. A few zombies hanged around, but the store itself was clear. I took what I needed, specifically I found some ice cream. Day 87. That same night, around 2 AM, I began gearing the team. First was uniform, followed by body armor, and I included weapons in their outfit as well. Day 88. Today, Michelle, Gavin, Matthew and I were to go fill up our gas cans and propane torches in Center Maldro. I wasn't worried because I had cleared the area a few days before. There were a few zombies around when we arrived.
What could go wrong?
And the team easily secured the perimeter while I filled up our gas cans and propane torches.
Holy shit on my tits. What did they do?
We had attracted a huge number of zombies. I lost sight of everyone and started picking them off as best I could with my suppressed rifle. Then, like a steel rod in my heart,
No. No!
I saw Matthew. He had turned, so I went full auto with rage.
Fuck, that is Matthew.
I put him down and grabbed his body so I wouldn't lose him like I lost Judith and Marion. I went full John Wick on the last zombies. I cleared around the station with my bat when out the corner of my eye, I spotted a bag on the ground. A satchel. It was Michelle, my heart broken too. I wanted to load her up in the back of the Bucky when suddenly...
Oh my god. Gavin!
I saw Gavin. He was exhausted. He was walking for his life from only a few zombies. I picked up Michelle and Matthew to load them into the truck, and it was time to go home. Michelle was one of the oldest members of the group since she and Gavin came to help us secure the warehouse all that time ago.
Gavin, we're getting the fuck out of here.
Feeling real sad for myself, I needed to reload my magazines for my rifle that night before anything. Day 89. Unable to sleep that night, I just had some soup and read a skill book on strength to pass the time. I read a magazine on how to hotwire cars finally as well. Day 90. Avoiding looking at my dead friends, I wanted to hotwire the flatbed truck parked out front.
Oh. After months of it just sitting there.
I took the truck up to the quiet gas station and filled her up along with the jerry can I used to get it here. I wanted to check out the Muldrow logistics offices before heading back.
Ooh. That's a cool truck.
I snuck up and found this really cool blue 4x4. I hoped for a key and gas, but who am I? I'm not that lucky. I hotwired it, but she wouldn't start. I began to pray, and long behold...
Oh yes, she's in good condition. No petrol, but it's fine. Engine's a little shit, but hey, we can fix her.
I wanted to hit the storage room first and had noticed a broken door, so I started there. I went slow and smooth, room to room, clearing the zombies with my rifle. When I finally reached the main office on the second floor, this place must have been used as a campsite for survivors at one point. A small group. Maybe the zombies I took out inside the building.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I was expecting a lot more.
I went to the garage workshop only to find one zombie. That afternoon I looted everything I could, but it was looking like the car was the best loot I would find that day. I moved the truck into the garage of the main building for safety and grabbed the jerry can from the back. Day 91, without sleeping a wink, I went over to the blue 4x4 to fill her up. While holding my breath, she started.
Oh yes. Hello, darling.
I went to fill her up while I could, along with all the gas cans I found. Finally, I parked her by the access road to go back to where I left the truck. I went to fetch the truck and hook up our new car to be towed back to base.
Did I leave the handbrake on or something?
The weather was getting much worse around me, so towing through mud like this wasn't an option. With that done, I reversed the car into the garage and started sorting loot. That day I packed and slapped all the ammo I had acquired so I could take a proper inventory as to how much I had and how much I needed. Day 92, I loaded standard magazines, minigun canisters, and box magazines for the LMG all morning. Finally, in the afternoon, I could hotwire and move that bike I had taken all that time ago. While looking for music suitable for a trip, I listened to the weather forecast to prepare for the next day. I stocked up on food. As of day 92, I had 4,931 zombie kills. I also had a look at my stats before my hiking trip. Finally, I tested out some winter jackets because it was going to be a little chilly the next few days on the road ahead. Day 93. A little past 1 AM, I set off on my hike. Rutland and Gavin insisted they escort me for at least some of the way for my own safety. Outside McCoy, I sent them back to base and carried on walking when I heard gunshots. I took out a few zombies on the way when I met Amanda. She was reluctant to tell me anything, so I left her in peace. I hopped the fence knowing it would be dangerous because of the trees on the other side, but luckily there were only a few zombies that were around. I tracked along a road I was on a few days ago when I finally found a T-junction. I saw a driveway with wrecks by its entrance and decided to check it out along the way.
Could be worth just having a look.
It was a long and curvy driveway, but I still kept my edge on because I didn't want any surprises. Most of the main road was barricaded, but the garage had a broken door, and the same with the shed in the corner. This place was under siege from a large group of zombies at one point, so I wanted to keep my noise levels down. On the first floor, I found two almost naked people who I bet lived their last hours having what fun they could, along with an office. I continued my trek down the road, and I can finally tell you I was on my way to an old military base.
Pick up your magazine. They don't grow on trees.
I cleared a few zombies along the road with my suppressed rifle, until finally I was at the entrance of the compound.
Oh.
There didn't seem to be too many around, so I felt I could go loud to hopefully draw the few of them out.
Oh my god.
I have never been more wrong in my life. I switched to my minigun because there were so many, but they just kept creeping up on me. I decided to rather fight in the road because I was surrounded by forests, and I would shoot and retreat up the road and shoot some more.
I think, that's the big gun. That's the big gun. I think they're starting to dwindle.
After an evening of shooting, so I switched to my M249 and started kicking ass with it.
This wasn't even inside the compound yet. We have yet to enter into the military base. This was just on the outside.
Day 94, I advanced forward with my LMG after a quick smoke and snack. But I was quickly pushed back into shooting and scooting. The zombies were starting to use the trees as cover and trying to flank me on the road.
Like, there needs to be a disgusting amount of ammunition. Am I out?
I ran out of box magazines for my M249 that morning. I switched to my shotgun and unequipped the suppressor on its barrel.
I'm already at 8,000 zombies killed.
If there were this many zombies, I wanted to be sure I got this road clear to pass through in the future.
There are so many. Look at all the casings of where I stood. Oh my goodness, my man. This is insane. This is actually insane. Bro. I can't believe I got them on the road like this.
It took a lot longer to use the shotgun, but they had seemed to be thinned out as I made my way back down the street. I had made it back to the field where I wanted to set up camp eventually, but it turns out the horde must have been distracted by something before.
Oh, we're at that field. Oh, no. No. Oh, fuck.
I was back to the slaughter once again.
I should probably know. Please, God, tell me. Oh, thank God. Thank Christ. Oh. Holy shit. I legitimately thought maybe I only have 9 rounds left. 1 round left. That would have been disgusting.
Day 95. Yes, I was running dangerously low on ammo considering the firepower I walked here with.
Okay. I have to do blow. I have no choice but to do drugs.
After doing some drugs to simply stay awake, I had to fill up my water bottles from my 20-liter I had brought with me.
I just walk inside? Literally a minute. That's all I want. At this point. 1 minute. Just the tip. Come on.
I had to make sure every shell I shot was well spent from now on. I switched to my bat since I was a fairy dust filled killer at this point after 3 days of non-stop fighting.
Get me in the fucking door.
I was low on ammo, without a doubt, so I had to switch between the bat and shotty as often as I could.
Ah! I was wondering when my nimble was gonna, like, warm up. Like, I'd been nimbling. All time. 2 months ago, she was stripping on a pole. Now look at her. Come on. All of you. Let's go. That's what I like to see. Some commitment, yeah. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot. Ah, 42 shells.
If I didn't get this jacket now, I would never find it again. Fashion is in-game, guys.
Good God, man. What? Anybody left? Apart from you two. Strange sausages. I think we did it. I think we're halfway through. It's decision time. Do I go back and get more ammunition? Because fucking Jesus, man. Maybe a car. So I don't have to do this track again. Of what's inside of there. Especially without any shotgun ammo. It would be suicidal. Without any ammo.
I decided to go inside because that was where the ammo would be. Plus, how many zombies could there still be inside, you know? After dealing with the undead still on watch by the gate, I noticed an army truck parked by the entrance. That could be my way out of here, but I had to fill it up with gas sometime before anything else. I had an MRE for supper in the parking lot that night.
God. Fuck it. We're going loud.
Finally, I switched to my suppressed rifle with the last of my few magazines because my white powder was wearing off and I couldn't get exhausted. Not here, not now. Yes, I drew more zombies, but I figured 120 bullets could be in 120 zombie skulls. Finally, I had a foothold in the quartermaster's storeroom and could finally get the ammo I so desperately needed.
Oh. There's a barrier there.
I went for 12 gauge shotgun shells and 44 mag rounds, along with any 5.56 bullets I could. I didn't care about other loot just yet. Day 96, I sat in the corner next to a generator loading my magazines for my rifle and unboxed the shoddy shells. Loading the big guns would take too much time, I fear. I wanted to try to do this at least tactically, so I placed down a radio with Blue playing from I-4 65 to bring the zombies to me. Yes, I was driving while I was shooting.
Yes, it's unlocked. Oh, there's a key. Yes.
I had a key for the truck and needed to clear a gap so I could fill her up with the jerry can. It was a back and forth from the stragglers, and finally I had the petrol in the truck. I grabbed my stereo and wanted to hit the ammo storage room a little deeper in the compound. The reason why I came here.
Hi, y'all. I'm Hannah.
There were so many zombies, I was really tired of killing at this point. I trailed them around the building, but there was just a disgusting amount, and I almost got swarmed in these trees.
No, god damn it! Fuck!
I had to omit my microphone here because the language used would just be too much for the internet to handle.
Hannah! What did you do?
Lots of Afrikaans swear words the world didn't need to hear. I was scratched on my thigh, which meant melee fighting was off the table from this point onwards, even after I bandaged it. I switched to my rifle, but the zombies were just uncontrollable at this point. In the nick of time, we had our main weapon back in hand. The worst scenario is for zombies to be spread out like this with numbers. They were very spread out by this point. I needed to try cut them off, so I made a stand. I knew I'd burnt out all my magazines when I started loading a fresh mag on the spot. I cleared around the building and started doing emergency looting for my specific ammo.
Oh!
I also was trying to gauge how much stuff was in there that was worth taking. Upstairs was beautifully clear, however. Thousands of rounds to get me back to base, and I tried to pack it into cases for transport, but was getting annoyed by the constant attacks. Day 97, I had my main loot, a machete to work with, so I threw it in the back of the truck and went to grab all the ammo I could. .48, 308, 38 special. Hell, I even found just short of a dozen rockets I could use one day. I decided to check out the main admin building, hoping to find some clothes and armor. I also found some decent medical supplies. A terrible mistake that could have cost me my entire playthrough. I had to stay diligent. I acquired the last thing I wanted, which was weapons and weapon mods, and I had promised myself to get out of there before I was hungry again. So I thought to myself, how do I show you this next clip? How do I convey how much I went through to get these supplies? And I figured, let me just play this next uninterrupted clip for you to see.
Dude, no ways. No ways. What?
Yep, after everything, this Supplies just got dumped on my doorstep. Day 98, I started sorting out my loot, but I was told by Rocklin that Gavin never made it back to base. So I equipped a car door as a shield and went out to fetch him immediately. I figured to look where I last saw him.
What you doing out here, son? Let's go. Everyone's been worried sick about you for a couple of days.
We made our way back and decided to display my weapons from the past few days on the countertop. I grabbed our easy supplies before I was comfortable enough to take off my armored gear finally. I was eating some carrots for an early lunch when it was the others.
Hey, whoa, hey!
They snuck into our base and shot. I limped up to my room for cover. I was shot in my foot and upper arm and was bleeding out fast.
Bandage, bandage, bandage. Everybody use guns, quickly, go, 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 go!
I needed medical attention, so I dropped my rifle and removed the bullets. I needed stitches for my wounds too. I climbed to the roof to check the area around my base even though it was raining. I re-geared up and was petrified they would try another assault even though we got 7 of them. I put sheets over the broken windows to keep the weather out and decided to do a patrol around the base. My instincts were right. I heard a shot, so I ran to investigate. I found Joanne walking around and I interrogated her. She mentioned something happening up at the lodging house, so that was our next point of interest. Upon arrival, we found Jennifer. Yeah, Jennifer. After all this time, she had been surviving around the base, fishing and making camp, keeping us safe from afar. I told her how she got Angus and Grant killed, and she knew. I told her that she could atone for her mistakes in the past by helping the community, and she agreed to help defend us with her life. We finished our patrol and got Jennifer re-geared to be safe if we were attacked again. I gave her ammo for a rifle and she was set. Day 99, I heard a hostile helicopter, but I needed a day of R&R after the past week of excitement. Day 100, I woke up early today and I got geared up. I searched for a supply drop and I think we need to turn this military checkpoint into a survivor refuge camp at one point. I looked at my stats I had acquired over the last 100 days as I spent time with my fallen friends. I needed gas, so I went to the station and sent Meldra to fill up. I actually looked inside the shop for once for what I could use. I saw a small group of zombies and decided to just deal with them. I went to the hotel next door and cleared a few zombies that remained to get a bouquet of flowers for myself. I placed my flowers, organized my weights, and started cleaning up timber piles around the base. Day 101. Finally, day 101. I went to grab a piece of furniture. I wanted to assign a new corpse gathering area when... Raiders!
Oh my god, I've been shot again. Ow. Bro. Why does this keep happening?
Yes, the universe is sick jokes. I had been shot again in the other foot on my last day. I had a ciggy and went to bed for my final day. I ate some muffins as a celebration for brekkie, heard a news chopper and pulled out my car. I sat by my friends' graves on this cold October morning, thanking those who had made the ultimate sacrifice to help get us here. To Michelle, to Matthew, to Angus, to Grant, to Helen. I drove down the road I had fought so heroically all that time ago, and couldn't help but think of the days before the apocalypse. I pulled up and sat where I buried Charlie and Marcus and told them of the sanctuary we had built. More than anything, I missed them. Charlie was my oldest friend from day one, after all. Going through the thick overgrowth, I noticed a raider hiding in the bushes. I wound down my window and shot them like I was in a GTA 5 drive-by. I quickly made my escape as the zombies began to swarm from the shots. Let them feast on the raiders' remains for all I cared. I went past some old memories and came up on Lisa and Marie's graves. I checked to see if Lisa still had her smoke, and sure enough, she did. I cleared the bushes from around their graves and sat down to share a smoke with them. They probably wouldn't believe how their deaths inspired a whole community to keep on surviving. I wanted to see the temp house before heading back, and it was really like memory lane for me. In the kitchen, I had forgotten how we left Lisa's clothes on the tiles back then. With a heavy heart, I started my way back when I saw Kathleen around the corner. I remember seeing Kathleen a long time ago, but didn't have a chance to say hi before. I figured if she could survive out here by herself this long, she'd be a decent ally. We got speaking in the car and she told me how she was a corpsman in the Marines sent here to aid in the quarantine. I wanted to see if Yvonne was around to invite her back with us too, but her safe house was abandoned. I went to the house where we started our journey all that time ago to see it. Yes, it was in ruins, but it was home. I grabbed my old poster and sat on my couch for a little bit that afternoon. I looked at my stats and I had killed 11,574 zombies, which is wild. Back at base, I got Kathleen geared to be our resident doctor on call, hung up my old poster and spent some time on the roof with my beach chair. I placed my stereo and listened to music into the next day.